Hey there, I'm Cody the Coin Raptor, and welcome to my channel. I'm here to provide you some excellent Bitcoin and crypto related news and information, as well as chart TA. Now, Bitcoin has been very strong over the past week. We've seen that Bitcoin is up about 3% so far. And I want to go ahead and just put this into perspective with the rest of the market, like I like to do, because Bitcoin has diverged so impressively from the rest of the market, and especially the standard equities. And so if we go ahead and take a look at the NASDAQ 100 over the last month, we can see that it's down 2% over the last month. The S&P 500 is down a little over 3% in the last month. But then you go to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's actually up almost 8% in the last month. This is absolutely astounding. Looking at it over a couple of days, you may not find that it's that impressive, but when you look at it over a month, we can see here that Bitcoin has been a strong performer. In fact, probably one of the strongest performing assets over the last month. If we go ahead and take a look at our Bitcoin chart TA, we can actually see that there is a huge liquidity level, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute, that Bitcoin has been careening towards. So right now we're sitting at a fairly strong resistance point here at about 28,000. And Bitcoin has tried to push above this level over the past couple of days. We've seen a strong sell-off here on the 2nd of October, in which it pushed to about 28,500, but then was rejected. And now we're starting to see a little bit of a sideways consolidation over the past couple of days. But in order for Bitcoin to push higher, and especially for it to push past this resistance level and then into that liquidity, we need to see Bitcoin build up a little bit of strength in this area here between the support here at 27,300 and about 28K and push into this liquidity level. And then if Bitcoin can push into this liquidity level and sustain some sort of momentum, we could actually see it move higher. I think we could actually see it move up to about 30K or so, somewhere in this range, and before the buyers actually truly get exhausted and Bitcoin comes back down again. Now, if you take a look at our daily RSI, it's sitting at about 61, which is high, but not overbought just yet. Bitcoin still has some room left to run. In fact, if we go ahead and take a look at that liquidity, and especially in this liquidation heat map, we can see here that this is the liquidity that I'm talking about here. This huge strip that runs all the way here from about 28,100 all the way up to about 28,300. This liquidity kind of pool, this massive area right here, that if Bitcoin pushed through, we could see major liquidations of shorts, and that could cause a nasty short squeeze to the upside. And on the downside here, we actually have a pretty significant amount of long liquidity down here at about 27,600. This is the largest liquidity level of a significant amount. Okay, so this liquidation right here could happen if Bitcoin falls below and loses the vital support, especially at 27,300. We would see liquidation here. We'd see liquidation all the way down to at these levels, all the way down here in this area. So there's also a significant liquidity band below this area right here. So if Bitcoin does lose that support, it's entirely possible on the downside that we could come all the way down here to maybe even about 26K. But in order for that to happen, this support would have to be taken out first. And so far, it's been bouncing off of the support. We've seen several days in which it's come down, it's tested the support, and then buyers have pushed the price much higher. So unless Bitcoin is able to, unless this support gets taken out, I don't see that as a likely reality. In fact, I think the risk is more towards the upside, in which we could actually see a strong rally, like I said, pushing through that 28K and into this liquidity level, and then from there possibly going to 29 and then maybe even 30 over the next couple of weeks. I do think that's a possibility. But if this support gets taken out right here, that thesis goes completely just out the window, and then I'll have to wind up coming up with the next idea of what's going to be happening. I'll look at the chart TA, and I'll try to figure out where Bitcoin's going out from that point. Now, if we take a look at our futures market, we can see here that futures have been very strong for the long side, the long positioning in the past couple of hours, and especially during the weekend. We do tend to see a little bit of a Sunday pump go on. And so far, we're seeing the longs kind of start to pile in over the past couple of hours and seem to try and push Bitcoin a little bit higher. Now, we have seen some long liquidations over the past few hours, but it hasn't been a significant amount. We haven't seen any significant long liquidations. And in fact, we haven't even seen any short liquidations since the 6th of October back here when we had that $7 million worth of short liquidity. That short liquidation happened. But, and I do think that given the fact that we haven't seen much short liquidation, it is entirely possible that we will get if we get a little bit of a Sunday pump, we'll get a little bit of short liquidation on top of that, and it'll push the price even higher for Sunday. Now, I also want to go ahead and talk about the long-term holder SOPR. So this is the spent output profit ratio. So the long-term holder SOPR is important to mention here because, as we've talked about in the past, over 80% of the Bitcoin supply are held by long-term hodlers. So what we're seeing here right now is a change, and especially if we go ahead and just declick this and we just look at the simple moving average. The simple moving average shows us that the long-term holders have been in profit since the 13th of September on average. This is really important because we need to see long-term holders maintain this profit, and if they don't, then we could wind up seeing panic selling in the market. We could wind up seeing a return to the bear market. I do think that we're not in a bull market. We're not in a bear market. I've said before that we're in kind of a kangaroo market in which the price tends to fluctuate up and down, which is very similar to what we've been seeing. But so far, the long-term holders are in profit right now. So if they are selling, they're selling in profit. And so far, I actually interpret this to be a bullish sign, a bullish signal. And because if they were selling and they weren't in profit, then they would wind up most likely cashing in those losses and moving on, or you'd see miners selling at a loss in order to pay their bills. But so far, people that are selling, they're selling in profit, so I think that's actually a fairly good sign. Now, I also want to go ahead and give an update on Lightning, the Bitcoin Lightning networks. We haven't talked about that for a little while, but I do think that it's important to mention because the Bitcoin Lightning network is a good example of a use case for Bitcoin that is primarily based on the transaction of Bitcoin, so Bitcoin as a currency rather than Bitcoin as a store of value. So we have the Bitcoin Lightning network capacity in this case dollars. Okay, so we've seen a spike here at the November 2021. That was the top of the bull market, and we've seen a bottoming here at December of 2022. That's likely the bottom of the bear market. But since then, we've actually seen a fairly strong rally in the Lightning network capacity for the dollar here. And so we've seen it actually push above to this point in June, which it hit a high, and then from there it's been falling. But overall, the uptrend from the start of the year has actually been up, and especially if you even just took the bull market out here, we can see that it's been growing steadily for the past couple of years, and we've seen the capacity for Lightning to actually increase. So what that means is that more people are using Lightning as a transactional medium in order to transact Bitcoin. Okay, so they're actually using Bitcoin as a currency rather than using it as a store of value. Put another way, if we take a look at the number of nodes that are online, we can see we've had a dramatic acceleration of the number of nodes online. In fact, at the peak here, we had about 20,600 nodes. This was coming from about a starting point of about 800. So you can see from 800 to 20,000, that's quite an increase. And even now, we've seen a little bit of a decrease from that point, but it's still fairly high. We're seeing it about 16,500. So the number of nodes that operate the Lightning Network, we've seen a large increase over the past couple of years. I think this is actually very bullish, again, for Bitcoin as a use case for the transactional capabilities of Bitcoin, using Bitcoin as a money. Okay, Next, I want to go ahead and talk about the NVT Golden Cross. Okay, I mentioned the NVT Golden Cross a few times on this channel, but the reason why I keep bringing it up is because I actually do find that it's more accurate than a lot of indicators. So the NVT Golden Cross gives us an example of tops, local tops, and local bottoms. And as it comes down here in this blue line, if it comes down here into this green zone, we tend to see a little bit of a bottoming pattern, especially as it comes back up again. It forms a little bit of a bottom, and then it tends to bottom on the price in Bitcoin. And if you had bought Bitcoin anywhere near the kind of the local bottom here of the NVT Golden Cross, you are buying near the local bottom. Not exactly, and not every single time, but it's very close. So what this is showing us right now is it's showing a downward trajectory. It's heading close to this green line here at the bottom, but it has not touched that green line just yet. And as soon as it does, again, come into that green line and make a local bottom, we're going to see a local bottoming of the Bitcoin price. So this is something I'm going to be watching very closely. But the fact that it's actually downtrending and heading lower, I think, is actually a very positive sign for Bitcoin. It means we have kind of more room to run in this current iteration. Over the past couple of weeks and month, we have more room left to run for the Bitcoin price. All right. The last thing I want to talk about is the economic calendar as usual. Some huge events are going to be happening this week. We have Fed presidents speaking on Monday. So these guys have been very bearish. They've been very hawkish. They've been trying to push the market down. Every single time the Fed presidents speak, it seems like the market dips. So beware. Monday, we're going to see them, two of them speak. And then on Wednesday, we have the producer price index, which is very important. How much this impacts the market, we're going to wind up seeing. But that same day, we also have the core PPI, and then we have the minutes of the September FOMC meeting. That's also going to be huge. We're going to wind up seeing the market spike or move in either direction because of that. And then Thursday is the big one. We have CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and this is what people are going to be looking like to see. They're going to be looking for in order to see whether or not inflation's come up or come down. I do think that we'll wind up seeing a nice reading for the CPI. It's so far they're looking at the year-over-year target of about 4.1%. Okay, so 4.1%. If we come in below that number, we could see a huge rally if we come below that number, and that would mean that the Fed doesn't have to raise as aggressively, which means that they can stop putting their foot on the throat of the economy, and we can actually start to see assets grow and equities go up like Bitcoin, and we could see some bullish momentum. Okay, again, very important. Thursday is the big day for CPI, and that will likely dictate whether or not Bitcoin is able to actually push into this liquidity level and then push even higher up to 29 and 30K. All right, so that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know what you guys are planning on doing for your Bitcoin stores. I have not bought any Bitcoin in a little while, and I probably won't unless we come down below that 27K level, maybe down to 26, 25. That is where I would be increasing my position. Okay, so that's all I've got for you guys today. Hope to catch you guys in the next video.